Hey everybody, welcome to another Great Lakes Divide live stream on YouTube. I'm your host, Adam Biggers. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81, and you can follow Great Lakes Divide on Twitter at GLDivide, and on Facebook at Great Lakes Divide. And want to thank our title sponsor, FederalWilliams.com, for providing basically the show. So for all of your realty needs in Michigan, visit FederalWilliams.com. You can check out the areas by zip code, by neighborhood. They specialize in the Lansing area, but Mike Williams is your statewide go-to guy. So contact Mike Williams, let him know that Adam Biggers and Ryan Schuling of the Great Lakes Divide sent you. So I'm going to get into, there's some internal debate. That's why today's show is titled Internal Debate. We're going to talk about Michigan versus Nebraska, the 56-10 game that I expected a Michigan win. I think everybody here did, but not in this fashion. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's the most dominant that we've seen of the Jim Harbaugh era. There's been a little bit of debate about that on our Facebook page, and I've gotten some tweets about it. And then also some Chris Evans. We're going to talk about the running back rotation. This was brought up yesterday while I was doing the live feed from the field after Michigan's win. So I want to touch on that. So before I get into that, guys, I want to tweet the live link. I see the chat starting to fill up. Trill City says, what up? First like in the building. He said, West Michigan, stand up. Matt the Destroyer 2 says, Michigan looks pretty impressive out there. Just need to beat Wisconsin week 6 and they have a good road to victory. Samantha Day says, I think you said the Nebraska game was going to be closer than the spread. We may have a team. Samantha, I thought it was going to be way closer than the spread. I thought an 18-point spread was ridiculous. There was no way. I was not going into that game thinking I'm going to see a blowout here. I fully expected a Michigan win. I thought that the offense would still I predicted what, 24-13. I mean, that's an okay day from the offense. I wanted to see it against Big Ten. I don't know what else to say. I'm not surprised Michigan won, but I'm surprised Michigan won the way that it did, and it does change my mind a little bit about the Wolverines. So we'll talk about that. So hold on, guys. Let me tweet this. Hold the comments so I don't miss them. Give me a second. So much to talk about, though. The thing about the Chris Evans thing stands out to me because Robert Protzman, actually, Robert's a regular viewer of the show. He and I forgot who it was. So you guys got to rekindle that debate here because I definitely want to talk about that. But hold on, I'm almost done tweeting here. And again, guys, if you don't already, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. And follow Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide, and like our Facebook page at Great Lakes Divide. And I have a comment, direct message from a friend, Chad Gall. I'll get into that. So I mean, a lot of feedback, a lot of comments on the video from yesterday, and a lot of comments on Twitter too. So okay, I have those tweeted out. So let's see. The last one I left off with was Samantha Day. And yes, Samantha, I thought it was going to be a close game. Not even, I can't change my mind. It's on live stream. So I predict what I think is going to happen. And I mean, it doesn't always happen. And this was one of those games that caught me by surprise. So, and it's a good thing if you're a Michigan fan, if you're, Harbaugh, if you're on that team. Yesterday was a great thing, and I want to further explain why I think it is the most dominant win. I've gotten people ask, hold on, I'll read the comments. Noah, hold on here. Costco Payne says, hey, how's it going? Hey, Costco. Trill City says True Wilson is the number 2 back. Okay, we'll get into that. That's part of the running back rotation. The DC 81025 says, go blue. What's up, fellas? What's up, the DC? Matt Crittenden says, everybody lose your mind. Noah Ayub says, refs are taking the game away from the defense. Trill City says, I'm sorry for arguing on your live feed, but I was drunk at the golf course. Hashtag Braylon Challenge. You're excused. You weren't really, and I was joking. You guys weren't arguing. You weren't being like like vulgar or anything, but I was like, basically save the good stuff, do it today. We had time to talk about it. So he said he's drunk at the golf course. DC 81025 says defense and Higdon set the tone along with good blocking by the O-line. I think also what helped set the tone was Ben Mason. I mean, that was a tone, that was a message like, look, we're giving it to Ben Mason and you're not going to do anything about it because A, you're not, and B, you can't. It was a challenge. And I'll make this point too about why I think it's more. Every single, the defense, special teams, everywhere. And I'm going to quote Chase Winovich, basically said across the board. I think Harbaugh's, everybody was saying that across the board. I mean, you saw that's why it was a complete game, nearly 500 total yards, like 491 total yards. 11 different receivers touched the ball. 5 different, Karan Higdon, Christian Turner, True Wilson, Omari Samuels, 4 running backs and a fullback with Ben Mason got carries. I mean, you're seeing the offensive play calling opened up a little bit. I mean, you're seeing Ambry Thomas was if you're a Michigan fan, other than the 10 points and there are a couple late penalties, there's nothing that you can look at from yesterday's game and complain about. Not one thing. And that's what I'm saying in terms of complete game. And they didn't shut off. Like a lot of people might remember that Northwestern game. It was like 38-0. I think it was 31-0 at halftime, though. I mean, during that shutout streak, those games were over at halftime, and Michigan, didn't continue to pile on. In this game, Michigan continued to pile on. And then someone on Twitter mentioned Rutgers. Well, and I wrote my column, and I'll put that in here. If you consider that a Division I, there was only one Division I football team on the field that day, and it wasn't Rutgers. So, yeah, 78-0, yeah, that was, but, do we see punt return touchdowns? Do we see collective effort defensively? Just everything that Michigan did yesterday, there's not a lot that you could complain about. And here and there, some mistakes. No game's ever going to be perfect, but I thought Michigan was as dominant as I've ever seen during the Harbaugh era. Even with that 41-7 win over the Florida Gators in the Citrus Bowl, or the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl, if you guys remember that. I remember asking Chris Wormley after that game, when did they know? And this is how I compare and contrast that game compared to yesterday's demolition of the Huskers. Chris Wormley said after the first half, they knew that Florida didn't want anymore. Like, they were just worn down. It wasn't going to happen. I asked Josh Metellus the same question yesterday about Nebraska, and anybody, if you saw the video, you know his answer. He said it was after the first series. The first series. He said they didn't want it anymore. Watch the video. It's on my YouTube channel, Josh Metellus, telling it like it is. They didn't want it, and Michigan knew. And that's when you know the other team doesn't want it, you beat them 56-10. Somehow Nebraska squeaked out some points. I mean, and I want to get into participation too. 78 players saw the field. I mean, Nebraska put up some points, but I mean, Michigan had third stringers on the field for good portions of the fourth quarter. I mean, this was a complete win. I don't care, opponent, people say, well, Nebraska's not that good. Okay. I mean, you don't dominate really good teams like this anyway. Really, I mean, it's rare that you see a really good team get down. No one's doing this to Alabama. No one's doing this to, Clemson or Oklahoma, or Ohio State. So that's kind of my barometer for it. I mean, who cares if it was Nebraska? Nobody was saying, was Michigan's 3-week shutout streak any less dominant because of the opponents? Who was like BYU, Northwestern, and I'm forgetting a game in there. Was that any less dominant? No. I mean, so anyway, Trail City, okay, back to the defense. Whitney Jackson says when the holes that are open, Evans runs just as good, maybe even better. He has good vision. We can get into this running back debate if you guys want to, guys, because I do not agree with, I forgot who, was it Trail City or Robert? I don't think it was Robert. I think it was you, Trail City. Did you say Chris Evans was 4th on your depth chart? And I'm sorry, man, I can't agree with that. Chris is still number 2. Last we knew he was day to day. It didn't sound like he was gonna miss Saturday. I'm surprised that he didn't play. I guess there's something more going on than what they initially said. Maybe it's a little bit more. I don't know. I'm sure that we'll ask more about it. Harbaugh didn't really say much about it yesterday. But the running back rotation is still the same in my mind. It's Higdon, Chris Evans, True Wilson. I mean, yeah, we've seen Omari get in there a little bit. Omari Samuels looks good, but I mean, True Wilson and Karan Higdon, no question, so far have been the two best running backs, and only because Chris didn't play Saturday and Karan didn't play the previous game. So Chris had to do what Karan and Chris do as opposed to just what Chris does. Karan Higdon had a little bit of extra help. I mean, Karan can carry the load. So, I mean, I think it's unfair to pile on Chris Evans right now and knock him down a couple runs on the depth chart. I still think he's the number 2 running back at Michigan, no doubt. My mind. Costco Payne says O-line's definitely getting better. They looked a lot better, didn't they? Owen Schuster says, even though it was the first drive of the game that Marshall tipped the pass interception, Metellus changed it. Well, absolutely. And good teams make those plays. People on Twitter were like, oh, well, you know, he was lucky that. I have a saying. My uncle's always told me, it's funny how the hardest working people are always the luckiest. I think this applies to everything in life, basically. I'm gonna get going life lessons here. But when you're Michigan, if you're getting lucky, it's because you're working hard. Luck is a byproduct of hard work. I don't care what anybody. There's nobody that gets lucky that doesn't have some type of work ethic. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, was it a lucky tip? Well, possibly, but at the same time, was it an unlucky throw by Adrian Martinez? Maybe. I mean, either way, the play was made. Josh Metellus was there, and absolutely that helped change the tone of the game. Trill City says this was better than any 2016 game because we had better players, solid quarterback, so it was Harbaugh's best game. I think overall this was. I mean, do you guys agree or disagree? Was this Jim Harbaugh's best victory at Michigan? I mean, the bowl victory was a great win. Yeah. I mean, yes, he's beaten Michigan State before. That was a big win for them. But I'm in terms of statistical dominance, the amount of players, we can go over the player participation. I wanted to hit these stats though. Nebraska had 39 rushing yards, and Karan Higdon had 2 carries that were more than that. I don't care who it is, what team. It's Nebraska. It's a Big Ten team, and they came out flat. Josh Metellus said they came out flat. I agree. I don't care who you are. You dominated every single part of this game. 8 penalties for 77 yards. Yeah, definitely penalties have to be cleaned up. 8 penalties. I think that was actually season high, but a lot of them were late. Well, no, they had 13 penalties against SMU, 7 penalties against Western. I forever keep these game stat tabs open on my computer. I have a million tabs open all the time. And 7 against Notre Dame. So this was the second highest total, but I'll go over real quick if you guys want to know exactly when these penalties were, because I feel like most of them were late. I'd have to... I don't know. You guys want to wait as I go through all these? I think a lot of them are late. Anyway, still clean up the penalties, but yes, agree or disagree. This was Jim Harbaugh's best win at Michigan. I think, like I said, across the board. You had your backup quarterback. You played 3 quarterbacks, but even your backup quarterback came in and looked really good. That pass to Ronnie Bell was not because Nebraska isn't good and it was mop-up time and whatever. I mean, was it Morello? I don't care. That pass was a redshirt freshman quarterback to a true freshman receiver, and that looked like 2 and 3 year starter stuff. I mean, that was on the money, a great throw. I've been talking about how Dylan McCaffrey throws a great ball for since last season, just watching him warm up. Dylan throws a great ball. That was a fantastic ball. I mean, there were so many different things to look at in this game. And again, Ronnie Bell, one of 11 guys who caught a pass from Michigan yesterday. And okay, what was it, the Shane DPJ show? No, not really. But at the same time, I mean, Grant Perry had 4 catches on four targets. Zach Gentry 3 of 4. Sean McCune 2 of 2. Nico Collins 2 of 3. Donovan Peoples-Jones ahead at 1 of 3. I think is actually like 1 of 4 or 1 of 5 actually, because I don't think I think there's a couple of attempts that did not show up on here because I was keeping track. So okay, that electric 14 of 15 streaks over, the 10 in a row streaks over. It's still, I mean, you still have Shane DPJ. This was a game where you just showed Okay, hit the tight ends, hit Grant Perry. I mean, it was a complete game around through and through, basically. So Trill City, so okay, that already. Andrew Werner says I'm not buying that Evans is as good as Higdon. I don't know who's saying that, but he's the number 2 back. Okay, I missed a lot of these comments here, guys. Sorry. Yeah, if I missed it, I apologize. I'm going to catch up to the most current. If you want to get it in again, get your question in again, please submit it. Matt Crittenden says, and Mr. Johnson, that's debatable given what we've seen from Turner, but True has established himself as a hard, fall-forward running back that pass blocks. We need that. And he's talking about Turner is better runner than True Wilson. Mr. Johnson says, Turner's a better runner than True Wilson, so if everyone eliminating Evans, your order is wrong. I'm not eliminating Evans. Evans is number 2. True Wilson's had some good games. Yeah, he's a solid option right there. But given what Chris can do, he's obviously not fully healthy. So once he returns to full health, we'll see more of Chris Evans. I'm sure. It's not. I'm not willing to knock Evans down. Yeah, Tiger Woods. Yeah, how about that? Well, this is his first Master win in what, like 10 years? I don't follow golf him. I saw it on Twitter. Back in the day, I remember like it was late high school and then into the early 2000s, Tiger Woods was becoming just a huge name. And it's if you want to talk about longevity and a guy who, regardless of the circumstances, has remained a relevant figure in sports. Tiger Woods. People talk about like LeBron James being. Tiger Woods is huge. Tiger Woods, and even if you go, through all the, that sloppy stuff a few years back with his wife and what he like got in a car accident and a mistress and all this other stuff. Whatever. Tiger Woods has still remained like the face of golf, basically. He is the face of the sport. Five years for Tiger. First win in 5 years. Said he's going to smash Europe at the Ryder Cup next week, then win the Grand Slam next year. Mark it down, Ed. I'll take your word for it, Matt. Tour champ. It wasn't the Masters Tour Championship, Big Bubble. Well, okay, that shows you how much I've played one round of golf, and it was actually a scramble, and I basically did our putts, and then I used to go up to the Flint Golf Club. I bought some clubs. I had like a nice Cleveland putter and everything. I thought it was awesome, and I was like really into putting for about 3 or 4 months, and I was good at it like a whole summer, and then I moved and I lost my golf clubs, and I never went back, but. I'm sometimes okay. I'm okay with like a 9-iron at a driving range, but I can't drive that well. I think probably around 240 is my long. I haven't really golfed that much, but I suck, so that's why. And obviously I don't follow it, so don't come to me asking any golf stuff. Joel Brown says he's late. What's up, Biggs? Hey Joel, how's it going? We're 1849 in. Matt Crandon says something about retracting some heresy. They hijacked Biggs' OCD with Tiger. James Stewart said, I know, no, it's ADHD. Yeah, definitely. You guys know how I get. I'll go off on I see a shiny object in the chat, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk about that. Kurt Peterson says, True is a better pass blocker. Some of the credit we're giving the O-line belongs to Karan and True. Chris misses his blocks too often. Well, and I don't think Chris is built differently than Karan and True. They have the bodies more for pass blocking. I don't think Chris Evans isn't really, he's an adequate in pass protection, but he's not an outstanding guy. Karan Higdon is outstanding pass blocker. True Wilson has shown that he's a pretty good pass blocker. Yeah, don't knock a guy for being something that you knew that he wasn't, right? that has never been one of Chris Evans' strengths. So I mean, I don't really expect Chris Evans to be a really good pass blocker. He's good in space. He's elusive, incredibly quick. I mean, we saw him when he's a true freshman, his debut against Hawaii. He just, vroom vroom, turn on the Jets. I mean, he's got Chris Evans. That's his game, the pass block. And yeah, I mean, to be a complete back, you want him to be able to pass block more. But I mean, Karan's the pass blocker. True's more of a pass blocker. James Sewers Evans is also a good slot receiver. Yeah. Samantha Day says DPJ is pretty good too in the slot. Yes, I agree. Adam Walney says, was hoping to see Milton for a drive with the new redshirt rule this year. Yeah, I mean, they went down to 3. I don't know if we're going to see any more than 3 quarterbacks playing a game. I'm not expecting to see Joe Milton right now. I'm not really surprised that we didn't see him, but these are the type of games. Why go that deep when really give the majority, give it to Dylan, and then you go Brandon, because if, in worst case scenario, right, a Shea Patterson injury, then you're going to have to go Dylan as the starter, and then Brandon, and then that, if the trend continues, Michigan starts to rolls through other teams, and let's say that Shea's out, then Joe would get some end game snaps. But right now, I think that just get 3 guys that that are going to play. Regardless of the scenario, injury scenario, I think they're doing a really good job of getting Dylan McCaffrey ready. Not only to come in case Shea does get hurt, but I mean Dylan's the next guy. Dylan, he really is. I thought Dylan was next even before Shea got here. So as you guys know, I wanted to kind of reserve judgment a little bit on Shea. Yeah, he's won me over. I think he's he's a fantastic playmaker. He can throw the ball, and I think he's a pretty tough player as well. So Matt Crittenden says, Adam, do you think they will start playing Milton in garbage time? Okay, yeah, just click. No, I don't think so, unless there's an injury, right? I think they're going to go three is as far as they're going to go with quarterbacks. So again, if Shea gets injured, then yeah, Joe Milton gets bumped up to that 3rd position, and then he would be a guy who gets some reps after BP in garbage time. But yeah, as it stands now, it's going to be when it's still kind of early enough in garbage time, Dylan. And then when it's like, okay, this game is like way far in hand, let's throw in Brandon Peters. But I don't think they'll go beyond that. Robert Protzman says run game exploded this week because SMU put 9 in the box and Nebraska didn't. Higdon made a difference, but that's not why we ran for like 300. Oh, well, Jay says, bench Mason, the new tailback for a goal line. I love it. Harbaugh finally has a big back. Well, I mean, a big tailback or just, I mean, they had Khalid Hill. What do you mean for that? I like Ben Mason a lot. And if you guys watch his interview or the videos on my YouTube channel from the post game, Ben does not he doesn't mince words at all. And he's, I think Ben Mason, like I said, yesterday, if there's one guy who really, I mean, there's a lot of guys you could pick from that stood out. And, Metellus played a really good game. Ambry Thomas had a pretty good game. Jake McCurry on special teams. I mean, like I said, there's a ton of guys, but I really like the way Ben Mason played. 6 carries for 18 yards and 3 touchdowns. I talked about Shea Patterson's efficiency. You want to talk about efficiency. 6 carries, 6 carries and half of them were touchdowns. I mean, he's averaging 3 yards per carry, right? 6 carries for 18 yards, so 3 yards. That's 9 feet. For Ben Mason, that's kind of falling forward and thrusting a little bit, maybe a little bit. A body length and a half. I think Ben's 6'3", 6'2" or 6'3". So that's what you do in those situations. Give Ben Mason the ball and let him go in and brute force his way to a touchdown. And I thought he was pretty good. And here's the thing why I liked it so much. If you're Michigan, you have to be really confident in it. Nebraska knew Ben Mason was getting the ball. Everybody in the press box knew Ben Mason was getting the ball. Everybody in the stadium knew that Ben Mason was getting the ball. That's where the statement comes, when everybody knows that that's coming and you still go with it, and it's because we dare you to stop it. We know that you can't stop it. So that's what I liked most about that. I thought Ben Mason kind of, in a way, epitomized Michigan's entire game. The attitude was Ben Mason, goal line, we're punching it in. That was the collective attitude yesterday. I thought that Ben Mason personified that. That's a better word. Ben Mason personified Michigan's attitude yesterday. Well, Jay says he's a less shifty version of Toby Gerhart equals Ben Mason with a big arm emoji. He's one of those. He's huge, and he's still being talked about as probably the strongest guy on the team. And we're talking about a big defensive lineman, and Ben Mason being still the strongest guy. Robert Protzman says the offense was nothing until Evans got in the game against Notre Dame. Chris Evans is not a situational running back. He should be used more, not less. Evans' talent is so underutilized. I kind of agree with you a little bit with that, Robert. Like I said, I don't understand why so many people are critical of Chris Evans. You're being critical of him for a guy that he's not. He isn't. You know what I mean? You can't be mad at him because he isn't what because he is what he is. He's very good in space, elusive. We've talked all about that. He's not a power back. You can't be mad at him and say that he's not a good running back because he's not a power back. That's not his game. So of course he's not going to be the best running up the middle and getting carrying the load of Karan Higdon when Karan's out. That's not his style. But even so, against SMU, I thought that Chris Evans did a great job as far as establish. He took like when I said it last week, he took a beating. He took one for the team. Karan Higdon was out. Chris Evans, all he needed to do was establish some tempo, basically offset the passing game. They really opened up the passing game. And Evans had 85, 11 carries, 18 carries for 85 yards and along a 35. And I've already went over this whole rant about it. Yeah, he was at like 14 carries for 50 yards, whatever, and then he had the one big long run. But Chris Evans was a big reason why Michigan was able to expand its passing game against SMU. And then we saw it expand a little bit more yesterday against Nebraska, and just the offense and in general. So Trio City says blind Michigan fans and non-Michigan fans agreeing. Greg Ryan says Biggers, tell Shea to quit throwing those receiver screens so high. I don't have that kind of pull, but if I see him, I'll let him know that you saw that, Greg. Public Pursuit says Biggers. No, that's Public Pursuit. I'm sorry. Greg Ryan says I'm not totally sold on Evans. He's a change of pace back, and that's it. Yeah. So obviously the role and the importance, and I don't know if are we questioning. I'm not. I'm saying we collectively, or you guys actually questioning Evans' talent, or is it the usage? Let's be more specific here, because there's a lot of criticism of Chris Evans, but where is it directed and what exactly does it mean? Because again, you can't criticize Chris Evans for not being a good power back because he's not a power back. I mean, you can't criticize me for being, I don't know, something. You can't criticize yourself. Basically, you can't be mad if you're not what you're not. So whatever it is, whatever analogy you want to use, who cares? Anyway, any questions, guys? I'm going to go to Twitter again. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Okay, I want to read this comment from Chad Amgal. He says, I really like Michigan pistol or shotgun. Patterson could see the field better. Do you guys agree or disagree on that? I think Shea does pretty well in the pistol and shotgun formations. Does give him some time to see. Shea's not a tall guy. He's a couple hairs taller than I am, and I'm 5'9". And I mean, what they list Shea, I think at 6'2", 205, 6'1", 205. I'm not sure he's 6'1". Harbaugh Football says, I'm watching right now. Trill City is right. I see his live comments. Trill City, you have some reinforcements on Twitter. Trill City's deep with his social media friends, or they're coming to his rescue. Trill City keeps it interesting in here. And by the way, Trill City, have you heard the new Young Dolph album? It's pretty good. I suggest you check it out. I've been listening to it on repeat for 2 days now. It came out the 21st midnight. I stayed up to get it. Trying to see some of these other comments in here. There were a couple that were. Oh, this is one that I want to address right here, because someone brought it up, saying about Harbaugh and the Frost UCF comment. Someone brought up, why that's cheap to bring it up. It's click if they don't talk about it. Well, actually, they did talk about it. Harbaugh said they didn't, Karan Higdon even said that they didn't. Other guys did say, I mean, the defensive player said Don Brown came in and addressed it to them. John Runyon Jr. said that they wanted to remember, that they remembered it. Devin Bush said, so, I mean, Jim Harbaugh says they didn't talk about that. Maybe Jim Harbaugh wasn't the guy who initiated it and went to everybody to talk. They talked about it, out hit, and I forgot the score of that game. It was a lot to a little. And Scott Frost wants to say that they out hit. They didn't out hit Michigan. They didn't out anything Michigan that day. I covered that game. It was all Michigan all the time. And I think that Michigan proved that they out hit. Someone asked me what would Scott Frost say yesterday in the press conference, and I brought up some smart ass stat like, well, they were perfect on fourth down yesterday. Nebraska was perfect on fourth down yesterday. 0 for 0. If you're Scott Frost, maybe you're saying that. Well, we were perfect on fourth down. Matt Crinan says it was probably one of Don. Oh, to guarantee they have to feel. And Don Brown, if you've seen some of this like raw footage, Don Brown's like me. I love the F word. I keep it PG on here. MF is very much part of my vocabulary. And sorry, nobody's perfect. I try not to swear, but yeah. Can you imagine Don Brown at that defense telling they have to feel? He's probably like they have to act and fit. You know, if you've seen Don Brown in some of these videos, if you've even seen them in the interviews that I post, Don Brown's energetic with us, and he's demonstrated with us. I mean, he's gotten down and like put hands in his face, showing proper technique, how to block and everything. If he does, imagine what he's doing about a coach who said his team out hit you. I guarantee this was a intense week of practice for the defense, and in terms of just hyping them up and make them feel you. Devin Bush made a few guys feel him. That comes to mind. I felt there was a time where I felt bad for Adrian Martinez and Andrew Bunch. It was that bad. It got to a point where it's just like, okay, their offensive line is offering no protection. It was almost as bad as like that game a couple weeks ago. Remember, Florida State quarterback DeAndre Francois pushed his O-lineman away after he got sacked. They were trying to help him up, and he pushed them away because it was their fault he was getting pummeled like that. So that's, like I said, to go back to everything I've mentioned, that's why yesterday was Michigan's most dominant win under Jim Harbaugh. And I forgot to do it earlier. Let me put the link to this column in. We basically talked about it, but read it. There's some video. Chase Winovich, again, saying it was like the most complete team win he's ever been a part of. We're going on 33 minutes, guys. James Stewart said, I have to listen to how UCF is the best team in the state down here in Florida all the time. Yeah, well, they won last night. Who they beat? They're like number 16 in the nation. While we're talking real quick, I want to go to Big Ten scoreboard. Penn State, number 10 ranked Penn State, 63-24 over Illinois. Number 4, Ohio State, 49-6 over Tulane. Number 18, Wisconsin, 28-17 over Iowa. Number 19, Michigan, 56-10 over Nebraska. Purdue, 30-13 over number 23, Boston College. Number 24, Michigan State, 35-21. My partner, Ryan Schuling, was down there in Bloomington last night covering that game. So visit the blog, greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com, if you want to check out the Michigan State coverage. Because I know all of you guys in here are really all about the Michigan State coverage. We've barely talked about Michigan State in this live stream at all. I mean, it's about Michigan football. I think the only time Michigan State gets brought up is like someone's trolling, or it's Michigan State week, or there's something, kind of like a big story. But other than that, we don't really talk too much Spartans football. If you do have a Spartans football related question, tweet it at Ryan Schuling on Twitter, or you can tweet it at me, and I'll do my best to answer it too. And the final, Maryland 42-13 over Minnesota. So I want to say the preview stuff for Friday, but I was asked on Twitter if yesterday kind of changes my mind about Northwestern. I still saw Michigan winning that. That'd be a close road test, but given what's happened with Northwestern and given what's happening with Michigan, my mind has changed a little bit. So we'll get more into that this week. But I'll field a couple more questions, guys, and then I'm going to call it a day. Last call on Twitter. Here's another point I brought up because someone said, okay, why are you bringing this up? It's 3 weeks ago. I said Michigan's definitely has me curious. What is the high end of this team? I think we saw a fair share Saturday, and it's early. Michigan might be better than expected. I'd like to see Michigan versus Notre Dame again, truthfully. Notre Dame, that's not going to happen, right? But I mean, everybody was hitched to that Notre Dame loss, like that exposed Michigan, that's what proved Michigan wasn't a good team. And anything Michigan has done after Notre Dame, people are still going, oh well, they lost at Notre Dame. Look at that. I mean, that first half. What has Notre Dame done since then? That's my question. So, a couple people were like, well, why are you, that was 3 weeks ago. LOL, okay, well, this past week we were talking about a 20-year-old game that never happened. Michigan and Nebraska. That was a huge topic this past week. So it's okay to bring up a game 3 weeks ago. And yeah, it doesn't have any impact. Michigan, Notre Dame can't play again. But what if? This is it. This is a different Michigan team right now. It's a different Notre Dame team right now too. So I thought that was a fair question. And then Jason Ambergy and at Jay Berge on Twitter, JayBurgey says, I said before, if Michigan played Notre Dame week 2, not week 1, the outcome is different. Speculation, of course. I think this team is talented enough to win the Big Ten. Still, I think Ohio State and Michigan are the most complete of all the contenders in the league. I mean, I like Penn State, definitely. I like Ohio State. They're pretty good. Michigan is getting there, though. I think if Michigan continues to do what it's done, which is the easy kind of analysis, I guess. If Michigan continues to be good, then yeah, assume that it's going to be good at the end of the year and be a contender. So I always say one game doesn't change the whole season. It doesn't completely flip. I'm still saying high end 10 wins, 9-3 is reasonable. The wheels fall off 8-4. Again, one game doesn't change everything, but one game can make you look at some things differently. And a game like this against Nebraska can show you, okay, well, this is why I said the high end would be a 10-win team. And I think that's what Michigan showed on Saturday is, okay, this is the high end play, then pretty good. But even okay teams or, good teams, better than average teams, will go out and have big games. But Michigan's offense is just piling on the points. They're getting everybody involved. No signs of slowing down. And I think at Northwestern, we might see. I want to see this Michigan team go on the road. Yeah, it's not a huge rivalry road game. It's a road game. It's one that people thought that would be difficult in the beginning of the year. People thought Northwestern would be better than what it is right now. Lost to Akron. Lost to Duke at home. So I think if Michigan goes on the road, beats Northwestern soundly, then we can really start talking about, okay, wheels are turning. Where is this team really going right now? More on Chris Evans. We've talked that. I didn't realize Chris Evans was going to be such a popular topic, guys. Sorry, the folks there. Maybe we should write a column on this. You guys have basically written 2 columns, the for Chris Evans argument and the against Chris Evans argument. So, J Mays 2, this is Michigan. J Mays 2, I got your email. I'll email you back. You guys, J Mays 2 emailed me, and if you want to email me directly, it's adam.biggers@yahoo.com. If you're interested in Great Lakes Divide Premium, a little bit extra, I think we're going to do like a subscription service for the live stream, and the live streams have been getting pretty good amounts of views on it, but now I'm really starting to see it's a very focused, knowledgeable group. Like almost everybody in here that's commenting, you guys have all been in here before. Judah the Cushite Pharaoh, fairly newer, but he's been in here. Adam Walney's been in here a lot. Robert Protzman's been in here as a staple. Trill City's been in here as a staple. J Mays 2, Joel Brown. Judah, hold on. Harbaugh has recruited H-backs and fullbacks awesomely. Not a word. Hey, I've always praised the way that he's recruited the fullback position, fullback and tight end position. That's power football. Everybody's like, oh, Michigan's going, too much. Are they going to go spread when Pep Hamilton got here? And, like, no, they're fullback and the tight end are going to be alive and well at Michigan, and the fullback has been. Let's see. Cushite Farrell says, why is Christian Turner so low on the depth chart, though? Because there's like 3 guys who are pretty good. I mean, Christian Turner is good. Christian's going to get his turn. They can't all play. I guess. I mean, well, yesterday they did, but 4 running backs and a fullback. Christian Turner did look good. He was injured as well in camp too, so I mean, give him some time. Maybe Christian Turner does climb up the depth chart a little bit. Right now, he's just getting some experience post injury. So that's what I'm saying. It's too early, I think, to evaluate Christian Turner, and it's too early to knock Chris Evans down to 4th on the depth chart. Robert Protzman says Evans brings more to the table than everyone. He is the best weapon in the backfield, no question. Best overall athletic weapon, I will give you that. But the best knockout punch is Karan Higdon, and I think Karan Higdon's actually one of the best in the country in that regard as far as his power back boom. Watch the video on my channel. I talked to him. I'm like, you're like a top. You spin and you go, and he mentioned, you know, you don't go into a fist fight. You go into a fist fight to throw the first punch, is what he said. You know, you're not going in there and sticking out your chin. He didn't say, I'm elaborating on it, but fist fight analogy, you're not going out there and sticking out your chin and telling someone to hit you. You're going in there and you're hitting them. And that's what Karan Higdon does. He hits a team in the mouth. And when he does that, he just continues and then just works his way down. Boom, hits you in the mouth, and then the rest is body blow, body blow, body blow. I wrote about this last year. Chris Evans was the jab, the quick. Karan is the body blows and the knockout punch. 100%. Trail City says, Robert Protzman, you're living in a fantasy world if you think Evans is the #1 back next year. He says, I'm done, man. You're blind. Trail City, though, you don't agree that Chris Evans athletically is the best in terms of weaponry, what he can do? Quick, slot receiver, he's versatile. I'm not saying he's not a better pure running back than Karan Higdon. But Chris brings a lot more, I think, options to the table. I agree with Robert on that. And that's not a knock. I'm not saying that he's the #1 back and he's better than Karan Higdon. I think right now, Karan Higdon is a top 5 running back in the country, in my eyes. I've seen enough of Karan Higdon, and now that he's a senior, I've been watching this kid since he was a freshman. Karan Higdon is so good, I'll tell you this. Friends with Amp Campbell, former Michigan State defensive back, and Amp went to the same high school. He's from the same area as Karan Higdon. Amp actually knows Karan's family. And I was talking to Amp during, it was Michigan State week 2015. It was 15 or 16. Maybe it was 15 because Karan was a freshman. Anyway, Amp Campbell was saying that Karan Higdon was so good and that the kids from that area in Florida are just so good. He said that he wishes that Karan would have went to Michigan State, that he's that good. And that's like the ultimate tip of a cap, sign of respect when an Amp Campbell, one of the greats at Michigan State, one of the all-time great defensive backs at Michigan State, for him to say that he looks at Karan Higdon and wishes that he played for his team, that is an ultimate compliment. So Karan Higdon has been a special back in the making, and I'll tell you, to see his development from when he came in 2015 to where he is right now, it's really been fun to watch. And Karan's a great dude. Always friendly and respectful, and he's a really hard worker. Karan's one of those guys that you like to root for because, you get to kind of know their personalities a little bit if you talk to them enough, and they're good dudes. Karan Higdon definitely one of those guys. So I'll go on my Karan Higdon rant for this Sunday. It's not really a rant. The Karan Higdon Power Hour. He's a good running back. Put it that way. All right. Any other questions, guys? MIC Book says we in here. MIC Book, we about to be out of here. It's going out 45 minutes, guys. I'll stay for a few more. Sorry, I've been talking a little bit more than normal. If I missed your... Greg Ryan says Turner's also injured. Notice the cast brace on his right hand. He's not full speed. Turner was #3 till he got banged up. That's true, Greg. And I mentioned that earlier, guys. Like, true or not true, but Christian Turner is coming back from an injury. So it's a little bit early to expect a lot out of him. He's where he is on the depth chart for a reason. He's #4 for a reason right now. OLJ says, I'm very excited on the depth. this team has been developing. Next year's O-line, Hayes, Bredesen, Ortiz, Onwenu, Hudson. And I want to get into participation, actually, before we go. Cody Peischer, any injury update on Solid? No, Cody, nothing. I'll be doing it dress. So, I mean, they're day-to-day. I can't confirm any. Michigan isn't confirming anything. I'm working to try to confirm it otherwise. But I imagine maybe the Aubrey Solomon thing kind of lingers a little bit. Big Bubble Blue says something that I completely agree with. Ambry Thomas is the best athlete on the team. No question. Ambry Thomas played at wide receiver, cornerback, special teams, punt return coverage, and return man. I mean, Ambry Thomas does it all. And you know, he's lined up, take carries, jet sweep last week against SMU. Everything Ambry Thomas does is electric. And even though you can't advance a muffed punt, he showed how quick he was by scooping that thing up and just, I mean, he's a fun player. Ambry is one of those guys who's really fun to watch. He's going to be a very good player at Michigan. D. Cookster 1 says best blocker after Higdon is Wilson. In the backfield, I don't know. Ben Mason's pretty good too. Let's get into this participation real quick, guys, and then we're going to go right here on offense, starting with wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then Ambry got in there. And hold on real quick. My Twitter is blowing up real quick. Hold on, guys. Now it's going. Now it's froze. Hold on. All right. Well, never mind. It wasn't a new notification anyway. Okay. Anyway, back to the player participation. Wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Ambry Thomas, and Brendan White. And left tackle, we saw John Runyon. We saw Jalen Mayfield get in there. After Ben Bredesen at left guard, we saw Chuck Filiaga and Philip Pea. At center, it was Ruiz and Vastardis. Right guard, Onwenu, Honingford, Spinellis. Right tackle, Bushel Beatty, Hudson Stuber. I mean, we saw a lot of depth on the O-line, right? And then at defensive line, defensive tackle too, because he's not listed as playing tackle, but Aiden Hutchinson was lined up as a 3-tech yesterday a couple times. He also played defensive end. We saw Myers get in there, Quiddy Pay, Donovan Jeter got in there, Reuben Jones, Drabaki got in there. He's one of Chase Winovich's good friends. That was his first game, but 78 players. And I mistakenly tweeted that Casey Hughes had a tackle. I was actually wrong. It was Reynolds. I thought I saw Casey Hughes in there, but it wasn't. I apologize. It was actually Hunter Reynolds. Let's see. LLJ says, I have a feeling a lot of players come back that are not forecast to be drafted in the first round. Stan Wiggers says, Bo would be happy with the way Michigan is going back to old school power football when you can run it down their throats and set up the passing game. And Stan, that kind of goes to my point earlier. I thought that Ben Mason personified this game perfectly for Michigan because it was Michigan daring 6 carries for 18 yards, 3 touchdowns speaks for itself. And, you know, all goal line situations and daring Nebraska, everybody knew it was coming. They dared Nebraska to stop it, and they know Nebraska can't. So I thought that kind of personified the attitude of Michigan yesterday. So Greg Ryan says, Adam Walney, coach said it himself. Dustin Camp, that Turner was 3. Biggers reported on it. Dustin Camp. Yeah, during camp, Christian Turner was number 3 at one time. And then it was True Wilson. Like Christian Turner was battling for that 3 spot. True Wilson was always the guy that they were looking at. True, I think, was always in there at number 3, but Christian Turner was there as well. And Christian Turner had a really good camp, and then he got injured. Trill City, I think Trill City is getting out of here. Says Ambry Thomas would be just as good as running back as Chris Evans. He's sorry, Robert Protzman, not reading you no more. I have real Michigan fans who agree with me. Trill, all right. Lion Bear, rest by Kate. All right, guys. Hey, on that note, I'm gonna go. Thanks everybody. It was the Chris Evans debate. I think maybe I'll write about it this week. It was I definitely feel like Chris Evans is a guy that's got the Michigan fans divided right now. But other than that, just final thought: Michigan game, most dominant win with Jim Harbaugh. Here's the column again. You guys check it out and read it. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow Great Lakes Divide on Twitter at GLDivide and on Facebook at Great Lakes Divide. And I want to thank our title sponsor, FederalWilliams.com. Again, for all of your realty needs in Michigan. He's focused on Lansing and focused on the eastern suburbs, but he's also your statewide go-to. So go to Mike Williams, tell him that Ryan and Adam from Great Lakes Divide sent you. Again, that's FederalWilliams.com, FEDERAU Williams.com. I'm Adam Biggers. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll have a live stream after Jim Harbaugh's press conference tomorrow. It's Northwestern this Saturday. We'll get into the previews and scores and all that stuff Friday. Monday, we'll talk about press conference stuff, player availability, and then we'll do another one probably Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So there'll be Monday and Friday for sure, and then sandwiched somewhere in the middle of the week, probably Wednesday or something like that, we'll have another one. So again, thanks. Subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, like all the videos, and follow me on Twitter and like all of our pages and all that stuff. So have a good rest of your Sunday. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.